Hey guys, so as I was recording the tutorial, you might have seen that my battery was really low, so I had to stop it and continue. Okay, so I just made a few changes, and the only thing I did was these functions here, and it's just basically functions I'm going to be making use of later, so don't worry about it. We're going to talk about it very soon. Okay, so as I was saying, the next thing we're going to do now is we've gotten the board, we've gotten states, the first player, second player, and who is presently playing, and by the way, okay, and who's presently playing. And then when we get that, the next thing we want to do is we want to print players. Let's assume X is playing first. Okay, so now I think we should either print the board before or after this, but let's print board before. So print board and then we tell who is playing first. So we're going to do print board a minute. Okay, we're going to pass board. I said a minute there instead of a second. Okay, so we're gonna pass print board. That's gonna print the board out, and then it's gonna tell the first player who's playing first. Now the next thing, when we get who's playing first, next thing we want to do is we want to get the player's move. Okay, now how do we do that? That's why we have this. First of all, we can do that by just doing move equals to, then we do input, enter your position. Okay, 1 to 9. Okay, let's just do that for now. So you can get the move like this, but it's possible the users that the person playing the game gives us something more than this. Okay, you just want to, of course people always want to do that, give you a number which is not what in the range of the numbers, and we're gonna have to streamline that down so we don't get any error. Okay, like a key index error, an index error like that, or something like that. Okay, so the way we're gonna do is we're gonna make use of this function to validate that. Okay, so we're gonna copy this. We're gonna copy this rather X, and then we're gonna do get valid user move. Okay, so we're gonna call this function, and that's why we have this function here. Now we're gonna make move an empty string, and we'll start a while loop here saying while move not in. Now I want to check anytime our move, which this is gonna be true for in this case, our move is not in a list of containing 1 to 9. So even if they give us 0, it's not gonna work. Though we have 0 in the board list, we are not making use of it based on our board representation. So this is also going to help us with that. When we're gonna do 1, 2, 3, 4, don't worry about what I'm doing. I'm gonna explain that later. 8, 9 dot split. Okay, I guess if you watch my tutorial you should understand this by now. But when we do dot split, this actually, because of the spaces here, Python is going to break it down into a list of numbers, strings. So we're going to do this and paste it here. As you can see, we have a list of strings of numbers, of strings. Okay, so while our move is not in that list, of course this is not there, then we're going to keep asking the user to enter. Okay, I think I have to type it again. I'm going to keep asking the user to enter a move. So the reason why we have this here at first is so that it's always negative at first, so you can eventually enter this while loop, and then we keep doing this, asking the user for the position to play in. We're gonna do enter your, sorry about that, position. We're gonna do 1 to 9. Okay, then it's gonna keep asking the user for the move, and then after it's gotten a correct move, then it's gonna do return move. Okay, now we have that. We're gonna run that, and let's run it. Let's run the main function. We're gonna see that, make sure things are even working well. Okay, player 1 is X, player 2 is 0, player X plays first. Let's call that down, see if it's gonna change. Okay, player X plays first again. Let me see, let me make sure that works well. Wow, player X again. Let me see, playing. I think, let me run it again. Yeah, okay, so it works well. So if I give it 44, oh my, if I give it 44, as you can see 66, it keeps asking me till I give it something valid, and then it ends. Okay, now that works fine. We've got to move. The next thing we want to do is now is want to check if the player actually gets a position in the board. Okay, now to be able to do that, first, we have two different players. We have player 1 and player 2. We're gonna first check who is playing. So we're gonna do if playing equals to player 1, then we know Okay, this is player 1, and before now we want to make our move. So before we make our move, we have to check if we can actually make our move on the board. Okay, so that's why you have this function. Now, imagine there are some cases where you can make a move on the board. For example, when the board is full, then which will eventually, if no win, then we're going to eventually return a tie, that's a draw. Or when that position itself is empty, or if a player has played in the same position you played at, then it should ask you to play again. Okay, now we're gonna come down here, then we're gonna do if can make move. Then we're gonna, as you can see, we're gonna take board and the move. So we're gonna pass in our board and then the move we want to play in. Okay, then we're gonna make move if we can. But before then we're gonna pass board, move, and then our player, which is playing, person that is presently playing. So now you know why we have the playing variable. Now let's get into this function and define that. Okay, as you can see, in a football situation, I don't think wrong input should be here because we've handled that here already. No space in board. Okay, now we're gonna code this out. Now the first thing we want to check is return. Okay, basically we're just gonna return board move is equal to an empty string. So remember that for every empty position in our list of moves, which is this here. Okay, so every empty position is represented with an empty string with a space in it. Okay, so what we are doing here is we are checking if board, oh, we have to put double there, we are checking if board, this position of the board, is equal to an empty string. So if it's equal to an empty string, then which means this position number 1 nobody has played there, and number 2 the board is not full, obviously, for there to be space there. And but also we've handled the case in which if the user enters 0, so we don't get some entering 0 and then it confuses the user. Don't worry about that anyway, we've handled the 0 case over here. Okay, but just know that this line here checks if the board is empty. As you can see from up here, an empty position in the list. Okay, now we have that. So if this is true, if board move is equal, because this is true, this will return true if it's empty and false otherwise. Then if it's true, then we want to make move. Okay, and how do we make our move? And that's what we have this function for. So as you can see, we are really close to the end. Basically, making move is very easy. All you have to do is just change the state of the string in that position in your list, which is the board. So all you have to do is just say board and then move. They want to make that empty string the player. Okay, so basically you're saying the empty string, make it player, which is either X or O. So it's going to represent that position there if it's empty with X or O. So after every play, we want to always check for win. Now we're going to do if, then we're going to do check win. Let's see what it takes. Okay, it takes the board and then player, which is playing. Checks if check win, print player. We're gonna do playing wins. Okay, and then we want to break the game at that point because there's no point to continue once the player wins. Else, which in this case we don't need to put an else here, because if the player should win, then it breaks, or else it continues to this point. Then which means the player has not won. They want to change playing to player 2. Okay, so if the player wins, it prints player X wins, for example, and then breaks. But if the player doesn't win here, then it doesn't break, and then we continue to this next line, which changes the play back to this player 1. So how do we get back to this position up here? Okay, that's another challenge where you need to think of. So how do we make sure after a player makes a move, we come back up here, and then we're gonna, okay, let's have our else here, elif playing, or better, normally I would do elif playing equals to player 2. So once we change our player playing equals to player 2, we come up here, and if this is false, it checks this, and if this is true, it continues with this. Basically, we are going to do the same thing that is here with player 2, but since we have only two players, so if the player is not equal to player 1, then obviously it should be equal to player 2. So we are just going to do else. Then we're going to copy this and do the same thing. I'm going to paste that there. So as you can see, not much to change. Let's see, player playing, just basically the same thing except from changing player to player 1 over here. Now as you can see, when a player makes a move and it changes to player 1, how do we get it back to the beginning? So we're going to make use of a while loop in this case, and then we need to decide where we want to use our while loop. Okay, and at this point we want to really get a move, so obviously all this will be in a while loop. This will also be in a while loop because we keep getting moves after we change a player, the present playing player. Then we want to make a move for the present player. So if you were player 1 before and then change to player 2, you want to ask player 2 for a move, so we obviously put this in a loop. Then this will not be in a loop. Okay, so the board, if you put the board this in the loop, that's going to generate a new board every time, which is not what we want. We just want a new board once, which we'll be playing with. So this is not going to be in the loop. This is not going to be in the loop because who plays first just indicates the first state of the game, and then want to print board always every first time and then tell who plays first. Then this is gonna be in the loop, so we're gonna indent this, and then we're gonna do while true. Okay, let us, we can always put this here, so we print our board at the beginning of every change in position of player, or at the beginning of the loop. So we have that there, but we need a way. So we have this there, but we need a way to always tell who is supposed to play. At least it's possible they know, but we also need to tell them who is supposed to play. Instead of doing this here, I'm gonna clear this and do down here. After we print the board, I'm gonna print player playing turn. So it's gonna be player X turn, player O turn. Okay, I'm gonna do that there. So let's run to C, and then we have this. Let's make sure that works there. I'm gonna do 7. Okay, it says list indices must be integers or slices, not string. List indices, so it means, okay, this move, yeah, okay, yeah, move is a string from where, oh yeah. So the problem we're having here is we didn't convert this to an integer. Okay, so if you spotted that earlier, oh, that's pretty good of you. Then it's becoming a real Python user. So let's see that again. Okay, I didn't put anything there. Let me do that once again. Sorry about that. Oh, what's going on? Of course. So our move here, remember, this divides this into a list of strings of numbers. So our numbers are actually strings in the list. So what we have to do here is we're gonna check if the string of move. So let me explain that quickly. When we give play a number 5, for example, and we can compare an int to a string. So when we play the number 5, it comes here and checks if number 5 is in here. But in this case, our number 5 is an integer, and where it only finds strings, so of course it's not in there. So the way we're gonna do this is we're gonna change it to a string here before we compare it. So once we compare it, it just changes it to a string for comparison here, and then if it's true, it just goes out of here, making our move still an integer. Okay, so it doesn't actually changes this integer to a string, just changes the state here for comparison only, but it's still an integer. Okay, so that should work fine from there. Okay, so that's normal. It's gonna always happen whenever you're developing something from scratch. Okay, as a beginner, so don't get worried of having something like this. It's always a good sign that you're making progress and you're doing the right things. Okay, so it says B is not defined. Okay, cool. I had to change this to B and P. Yeah, I'm very sorry, that's the only change. Okay, so I'm gonna run that again. Oh, I didn't put anything there. So you can also handle the case of whenever the move is empty. So you can just come down here. Let's see, string not in anything, or you can just put any other condition. Or you know what, I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna leave it a task for you. I don't just want to do everything for you, so you need to learn how to also do other things. You can either use exceptions or handle it here and check if move is equals to an empty string, of course, and then you handle it. So I'm not gonna do that for you. I was just thinking of that, contemplating actually. Okay, so we're gonna run that there. We're gonna do 7. Oh, my numpad is off again. I'm gonna do 7. Okay, 5. As you can see, it works fine now. Oh, so now player X turns. We're gonna play here, and once we play here, player O wins. I don't think I've handled the case of player O winning here. Okay, yeah, we check if can win and then we play this. Oh, cool. So after everything, as you can see, it doesn't print the last position because we are printing our board at the beginning of the loop here. So of course when we break, it doesn't go back to the top of the loop. So you can either put this your print board at the end, or just print this at the beginning and then print this at the end outside the loop. Okay, so we're gonna do outside the loop, we are gonna do print board and then we're gonna do board. Or what you can do is you can also put this at the end, so after every move you have this. Okay, let's save that and run it. So the reason why I'm printing it at the top is so that it's so that we can always see the board at the beginning. So when we do this, so I'm just gonna revert that and put this outside here instead, so we can always see the board at the beginning. Okay, which is cool. Then we have this way. Let's put X there, let's put O here, let's put X here, so we know. And then player who wins. Now let's check play again. So undo the draw situation. Oh my goodness. Oh, okay. So basically I'm just trying to show you. Okay, I'm gonna do that there. X is gonna win. But anyway, the point is, what I want to do is I want to check for a draw situation. If you notice, we haven't handled the draw situation, so if they eventually play draw, it's not gonna, nothing is gonna happen. Okay, so we want to undo that now. So after every loop, so after every player makes a move, then we're gonna check if board, we're gonna check if an empty string is not in the board. If they're not in board, so for example, let's say the user just makes the last position in the board, the last move, so we're gonna check if there is no empty string in the board, which means there's no space in the board. So we're gonna print it a tie. Okay, and then we're gonna break. So basically we're checking if there's no empty string in the board. But now, you know, remember, if we do it this way, try running it this way. If you do it this way, even if your board is full, it's still not going to give you this. You know why? Because we're not making use of the 0, and the 0 is going to be always empty. So remember that. So it's always going to give you a false in this situation. So the way you do it is do from 1, which you start counting from the first index, which is 1, leaving out this 0, which will always be empty. And then if it's a draw, it prints break. It breaks and prints it a tie. So we're gonna, I hope I just get it right this time around. Okay, so if I play O here, I play, okay, O. Oh my goodness, what's going on? Oh my goodness, player who wins. Okay, so I don't know, you can just test it yourself. It's gonna surely work, this draw situation. Okay, well, obviously, okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut the parts of which presently I'm gonna be cutting is when I'm playing the game, so we can get a draw situation. So I'm gonna cut those parts, and then I'm gonna add it later to the video, the part where I actually get the draw. Okay, now you see we get a tie finally. I've been trying to get a tie, but finally, as you can see, we get a tie. Okay, so that's what this is for here. Now you see, and we've handled every possible situation in this long code, in this short code rather. That's it for the game. Very easy, simple, straightforward, and you don't have to do something really crazy, but you can also make it more interesting by making this player 2 a computer move. Instead of doing this, you can play player 2 can just be like a computer where you have like a random move. Okay, so that's it for the game. As you can see, we're done with this, and thanks for watching anyway. Make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Peace, guys.